He's the founder and managing director of the Phil Foden fan club. He's got the sharpest lineup, shape up that you've ever seen on TV. There you go.
Some fan, you know, when you read in your DMs or whatnot, some fan said, don't let what people, these negative people have got to say about you affect you, because you've had an unbelievable career and you're an unbelievable person. So like that's the only reason why I went into punditry. When I had like backlash from my own community, that hurt. That hurt more than anything. That hurt, because like, if you knew what I stood for and what I've been doing, you wouldn't be saying that. Any clip can be changed, and you know, the context can be changed, the narrative can be changed to suit what they fit. Like, I got Coconut, I got Uncle Tom, all these, me as well, you know, me. The first time I was in the Sky, I was with Roy Keane one night, and then like, it was that moment when I said I burst onto the scene, and he said like, you didn't burst onto the scene. I started like, you know, youngest son of the England, Premier League, this, that, and that. Come on. And then he sort of like, ooh, it's got a bit about him, you know what I mean? You know, I was buying into the hype. You know, like we talk about the negative, the negative. I was buying into the positive. When I was getting 8 out of 10, I look at the paper. Richard, outstanding again.
Hello listeners, and welcome back to yet again another episode of the Beautiful Game podcast. As ever, I'm your host Budge, joined by my faithful two co-conspirators Dot and Dej. Gents, how are we feeling, man?
I'm good, man. I'm so gassed with this.
Of course. How about you, Dej?
Bro, I'm pumped. Like, this guest that we've got on growing up, this was my guy. Obviously, being the left back, those marauding runs, the lead, everything, man. So it's going to be a pleasure, man, to chop it up.
100%. We are in very, very, very good company with a very well-esteemed guest. You will have seen him all over your TV screens on Sky Sports. This is a man who is a Premier League legend. He won the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the Carabao Cup as well. He was the youngest ever City first team captain, and also the youngest ever defender to represent England on an international stage. He's the founder and managing director of the Phil Foden fan club. He's got the sharpest lineup, shape up that you've ever seen on TV. There you go, sporting the fade there. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome Micah Richards to the platform. Welcome, Micah.
Welcome.
Why are you gassing me up like that, you know? I'm looking at all
Come on, man. You have to give you your accolades. You actually done a mad thing when we look back at your career, though.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm telling you, man, you were like my idol, one of my idols growing up. Because of that fullback position, man, you just had it on lock. Them runs, you know, the intensity you played at. Yeah, man, you had a great career. And it's a pleasure to welcome you onto our platform.
I'm a pleasure to be here, man. Obviously supporting you guys. I see you do your thing. So, you know, it's a pleasure to be here, man.
No,
we have to big up Studge as well, because he helped sorting this out as well. I know he gave you a nudge. We've been sending some emails to your team, and I know Studge put in that word back. So big up Studge.
Big up Studge every day.
Yeah, so like, you know, we want to get into it. We've been obviously speaking to your team. You've got an exclusive documentary coming out, which hasn't aired, and obviously we got a sneak peek of that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could just talk to us about that documentary and what you hope to achieve by producing it.
Yeah, documentary coming out on, it's going to be on Sky Documentary. It's coming out on the 25th of this month. So tune into that. What I'm looking to achieve, you know what, the whole racism thing, it's rife at the moment, isn't it? But it starts from like lower. It doesn't matter what job you're at. You know, people think, oh, because you're a footballer, you might get treated a certain way. I can go in certain places and get treated like a king because I play football, you know what I mean? But there's also a dark side to it, do you know what I mean? But I didn't want to just focus solely on just football life. It was more racism within football, of course, but it's different jobs within football. And I wanted to interview various different people from women to older people to different generations to see how it affects them. And I don't want to blame anyone for this whole racism thing, because, you know, racism started a long time ago, and a lot of people now are just a product of what happened, you know, which they have no control over. You know what I mean? But what I want to change is just the way people think. Instead of, you know, someone being racist and I just told them a racist, I don't think that's going to change anything. I want to show them in a different light to say, look, have you looked at it from this angle? Because all up to now, probably, you know, there's 4 black guys here on this pod.
Come on.
And we've all got white friends, and a lot of your white friends may not have appreciated it was so prevalent in today's society. You know what I mean? Until they started seeing the whole George Floyd thing, and then it's like, wow, this really goes on. You know what I mean? And a lot of people say, well, oh, that's in America, but I'm saying, yeah, it is more rife in America, but it's still here, but it's a little bit more subtle. You know what I mean? And I just wanted to highlight what the everyday struggles of, you know, being black comes with. You know what I mean? And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I feel like I've exploited all the areas for everyone to look at. Well, I can relate to this situation, or I can relate to that situation. And like I said, it's not about blaming anyone. It's just about showing it from different opinions.
And what would you say was your most, you know, interesting takeaway from that documentary? Because obviously you spoke to, you know, Darren Lewis, who's in the media world, and you've, you know, now introduced yourself into the media world, and you've also spoken to Gary Neville in that documentary. So what would you say was the most interesting part of that documentary, in your opinion?
I think the most interesting one was a Gary Neville one, just because he obviously is a white male, and he's been his experience where, you know, the whole thing with Raheem Sterling, and he didn't know how to act in that time, and the stuff with Ashley Cole as well, where he didn't turn a blind eye, but because he didn't know what to say, but now he's using his voice for positive. You know what I mean? There's no one who speaks highly white person about this than Gary Neville. So, and I think when he's speaking about racism, it holds more weight coming from a white person. You know what I mean? You know what it's like. When someone's talking about racism, it makes you feel good right in there as well. You know what I mean? It's like he understands, or he might not understand, but he's trying to understand. So I feel like the Gary Neville interview had the most impact.
And I think Sky are doing a great job. And, you know, like one of the big moments throughout this period for me was on Sky when, you know, the Burnley, they flew over the flag, and Graham Souness was in the studio saying, you know what, almost making like a plea for help. Like, you know, I might have been complicit in this sort of behavior, you know, in boardrooms at the top, racist language might be used. And I thought, you know, that's powerful for a 60, 70-year-old to be from that generation, to want help and to want education. That was big for me, man.
Yeah, that was massive. And I think, like, it's been that grey area, hasn't it, where no one really wants to talk about racism. You know, like the white people, even like I've said certain things in the past, and like I've been bashed by my own black community for not saying exactly what they want to hear. Do you know what I mean? But I don't want to take sides. Obviously, I'm black. I'm from the area. I'm from Leeds, from Chapeltown, where I've been racially abused from a black police officer. But like, I want to look at the bigger picture. I don't just want to call someone a racist and that's it. I want to find out why they're being racist and how I can improve that. So when you're talking about Graham Souness, the effect that it had on him, to him to actually think, actually, like, yeah, you're right. You know what I mean? And it's like making the people think, well, actually, I've been in that situation, but what am I going to do next to make sure we can push this whole movement and conversation forward?
No, 100%. You know what, Micah, still staying on the topic of race, I want to speak about social media specifically. Now, obviously, I remember, I think it was back in 2012, for a period of time, you came off Twitter because of the fact that, you know, you were racially abused online and so on and so forth. And so 8 years on, do you feel that there's been much that's changed within the space of social media and Twitter specifically?
No, I think it's got worse, if I'm being totally honest. I think when I come off Twitter, like, I was just like, I'm a happy person. You know me, I'm always smiling and joking. And I'm going onto Twitter and I'm just like wanting to fight people all the time. But you wanting to like argue with someone who's got no following, and you're just giving them your time and effort when they're just looking for a reaction. You know what I mean? So I'm like, what is the actual point? So I came off Twitter, but now I don't mind good or bad because I've learned to be able to deal with it. You know what I mean? But I think now, especially with the whole like George Floyd thing and, you know, the whole Donald Trump thing, where like certain things are like, well, I'm not even accusing Donald Trump of being racist, but there's certain things that he could have said in a different way, and people are taking it and changing the context a little bit, and it's just giving these people confidence to come on social media and say what they want. You know what I mean? And like these platforms, they're not doing nothing about it. I don't think they care enough. You know what I mean? I genuinely don't believe that they care enough. And that is the problem. And it's not just about black people. It's about like the young people coming through. You know what I mean? You know, like suicide rate. Imagine, like, I can take it now. I can take it. I can take it no matter what, because I'm thick-skinned now. But I'm older now. But imagine a young, 10, 11, 12-year-old going on Twitter, getting this abuse. It's wrong. You know what I mean? And I don't do enough on the platforms. And I think it's wrong. And I think you've got to be careful when you go on them, because, like I said, it could spoil your day. It could turn this smile into a frown, man.
And you spoke about that on your documentary as well. You spoke to a lady from Facebook, and they offer like a 5 strikes, then you're out sort of policy, and that's not good enough.
It's nonsense. It's nonsense. It's really like, and that's what I mean. So you can racially abuse someone once or twice, and then actually the third time will take. So what do you mean? Crazy. So it's just absolutely crazy, and that's why I genuinely don't care. They do not care, and I stand by that. You know, and they're trying, to tick these boxes, and they've got so many different roles and this, that, and the other. You know, when I was speaking to them, I was like, all different people on the calls. I'm like, hold on, let me speak to the person who's making control of this. Don't pass me on to this section of this or the head of this, and I'm just like, this is pathetic. You know what I mean? And it's sad. It's sad to see, but it's what we have to deal with, and that's why I'm part of trying to move things forward. And when you've got a voice, when you're working for Sky and BBC and CBS, some of the biggest networks in the world, then you've got to use your voice to the advantage.
And definitely, speaking of your voice, do you feel like you're almost under pressure because you're carrying that burden as a black man to be the voice of the wider public? So, for example, we saw the scenes, the PSG game where the players walked off the pitch, and obviously you had a clip that went out viral on the internet. And obviously there was a bit of a backlash by some sections of the community saying that, Micah should just condemn that straight away, blah, blah, blah. So do you feel like you're under pressure when it comes to these situations?
Listen, I'm under mad pressure. Let's keep it 100. The pressure, like, I don't get pressured by it, but soon as the race topic comes up, I'm just under crazy pressure. In fact, because I'm from, like I said, the area I've grown up, if someone's racist, I just want to fight them. Do you know what I mean? So I'm big. I'm bigger than that now. I have to be more professional than that. But what I was in that clip, maybe the words I used wasn't right. But what I was trying to say is, like, there wasn't enough evidence for me to just. I've been talking like this whole racism thing. I've been talking about this. Look at my interviews from 10, 15 years ago. I've been talking about it since then, you know what I mean? And now, because it's like, it's cool to talk about it, everyone wants to jump on the bandwagon. When I've been talking about this, so when I had like backlash from my own community, that hurt. That hurt more than anything. That hurt because like if you knew what I stood for and what I've been doing, you wouldn't be saying that. Any clip can be changed, and you know the context can be changed, the narrative can be changed to suit what they fit. Like I got Coconut, I got Uncle Tom, all these me as well. You know me.
Come on.
I'm like, please, like I just do a little bit of homework. Do you know what I mean? And really, I should have condemned it straight away, but I maybe give too much of an opportunity to the other side to then think it was okay. Do you know what I mean? But what I was trying to say was like that moment, it was total ignorance, which being stemmed down from racism. But what I was trying to say is like we like have been so long have been fighting to be called black. You know what I mean? So if someone says the black guy over there, I wouldn't take that personally, but I could understand why the black community would take that personally. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I just didn't get my words out at the right. So when you talk about pressure, yeah, it's look, talking about racism easy because I know right from wrong. You know what I mean? But it's difficult every time to talk about the racism issue because once, you know, it's like once you talk about race, oh, here we go, it's preaching again. And I want people to actually listen to what I'm saying.
You want to open up the conversation, basically.
Exactly is what I want to do. I don't just want to call racist, and that's it. I want to understand why he's being racist and what can we do to try change his mind or their mind. And that was sort of, yeah, it was tough. But I understand. You know, because you know it's what, you know, when you're on air and stuff like that. And you get all some haters are saying, oh, what's Micron doing there with Roy and Souness and all them, like, these big legends of the game, like almost trying to play you down. But then when you don't say something they want to hear, or he's got that massive platform and he's not using it, so which one is it? You know what I mean? tell me which one it is. You know what I mean? I'm rather got the biggest platform or I'm not. You know what I mean? So I understand. And what I need to understand now as well, like as much as I don't think I'm representing, you know, all the black, I actually am. Do you know what I mean? Because the waiting. So I'm growing, and not everything I can say, everyone's gonna agree with because that's what punditry is. You know what I mean? It's about opinions. But I definitely know now on certain situations that if I'm not 100% sure of what I've seen, I'm just not going to say anything until I've got that, you know, that hard evidence that I need. You know what I mean? And that's been a learning curve for me as well, for sure.
And sometimes it's okay to say I don't know or I need more information.
Yes.
Yeah, Micah, moving it on. Obviously, you've become one of the hottest pundits. You know, 2020, you burst onto the scene. You burst onto the scene in punditry. You know, your great energy, your insight. Like, how has that been? You know, because as a footballer, you burst onto the scene, you play games of punditry, you sort of, you know, took a bit of a hiatus, and now, like, you're in front of everyone's face. You know, how has that been?
You know, it's been crazy. It's a bit been like my football career where everything I just come in at 17, it all happened a little bit quick, really. And, you know, like I'm not scared, but I'm wary because the way my career ended, it was so high that it crashed down. It was so low, like lowest of the low. So when we talk about going into punditry, I actually didn't want to do anything to do with media. I swear, this is the honest truth. So then, like my time at Villa was horrible. I didn't want to be nowhere near social media. Just wanted to retire and just relax and enjoy my life. But some fan, you know, when you read in your DMs or whatnot, some fan said, don't let what these negative people have got to say about you affect you because you've had an unbelievable career and you're an unbelievable person. So like that's the only reason why I went into punditry, because of this one little. So when people say, when people say things, it doesn't affect you. Of course it affects you. We're human beings. I'm not a human being. I'm a human. You know what I mean? This is normal. So it was that one message to realize, you know what? Like, I'm still inspiring some people. I know it didn't end the way I wanted to, but there still got love for me. So then BBC asked me to do some things. So I was doing radio, then I started doing a little bit more. And then they asked me to go on a Sky game. And then I think the first time I was in the Sky game, I was with Roy Keane, wasn't I? And then like, it was that moment when I said I burst onto the scene. And he said like, you didn't burst onto the scene. I started like, you know, youngest ever to play for England, Premier League, this, that, and that. And then he sort of like, ooh, he's got a bit about him, you know what I mean? So that's where the relationship came from. And then I thought, well, if I can sort of hold my own against these, let's be honest, these icons. These are like, we were talking about, these are top of the tree. You don't get to do this normally. There's certain people who go on with them, but and they just can't grasp how they need to be. Do you know what I mean? It becomes more of a argument rather than engaging. So after that, he was like super cool with me, Roy Keane. And then now I was just like, that just give me the confidence to go on and say, you know what? There's a bit of love out there, you know what I mean? And because I love football, so watching games, I watch every single game anyway, do you know what I mean? So this is not light work for me. This is just like the best possible job I could do. And I know you're going to get positives and negatives on social media, but I've trained myself how to deal with that more now. And I love every minute of it. I really do, man.
You know what I wanted to ask you, Micah, is have you always had an interest in journalism or creative writing and whatnot? Because even during your playing career, I think it might have been back in like 2007, that's when you started having a column for BBC, right? So, I mean, at that time, was it just something to do on the side because it was something that you enjoyed? Or were you at that point already thinking long term, you know, when I do eventually hang up my boots, I want to get into something different within this realm?
Yeah, I always wanted to do something on the side, but I think, you know, to see the stuff that I do is quite positive because, you know, like footballers, although like the seen as like gods, you want to be a footballer and all that sort of thing, it's sort of like they always get seen in a negative light, if you know what I mean. So me coming into the game, and even back then when I was doing my column, I wanted to be like more positive, you know what I mean? Because it's like when someone's doing well for themselves, and like the first thing you know, how has he earned that, or what's he got, or what's he, you know what I mean? That's the first. That's just like natural, the way we're like installing us from young, like. So I always wanted to do something after football, but I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to do punditry. Obviously, I'm a Man City ambassador as well, and I wanted to sort of look after young players because like I had so much so young. And I made so many mistakes. So all these mistakes that people have, you always see me defending them because I've made all these mistakes as well. All of them. Every mistake you can think. And I'm still making mistakes now, but you can't be punished by every mistake you make. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like I'm trying to like bridge that gap between like footballers being held up here and like, but at the end of the day, they're still humans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I want to try like merge together. I don't know if you see John Stones, yesterday we scored, and he even was talking about me, you know, like he was bigging me up on Sky because of the conversation. It's not about me or anything. I'm just letting him know, like, you're an unbelievable player. You just need to believe that. And I think sometimes when things are not going right in your career, you just focus on the negatives instead of the positives. You know what I mean? So yeah, in terms of the column and that sort of, I always just wanted to help people. That was my goal at the end. Which direction it went through, I wasn't quite sure.
So, Micah, obviously, you're walking into the Sky doors, and obviously there's Roy Keane there, there's Jamie Carragher, there's Gary Neville, there's, you know, Jamie Redknapp. Are you thinking, I need to bring a madness to this mix? Or are you just thinking, let me just go in and be myself?
I'm just thinking, you know what? I'm always about the banter. You speak to anyone in the dressing room, I'm always messing up. When it's time to work, I work, but I'm just always about the banter. You know what I mean? So when you got them guys who there got medals upon medals upon medals, I can't compete with that. But I can make you feel uncomfortable on camera. You know what I mean? Look at the size. You know what I mean? You got to like stand over them and, you know, smile at them, wink at them, all them. I like to make people feel a little bit uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Because I can't go there and put medals on the table because it just looks stupid. You know what I mean? But like I've always like, if you look through my career with City TV with all their clips and all that, that's been me from ages. I've always loved this side of things. So when I go on there, I'm always like, what can I bring that's going to be different? Do you know what I mean? Because there's so many pundits out there who don't get to do what they need to do because they're just the same. But they're just the same with each other. But then someone's won more trophies, so they're always going to pick the one who's got more trophies if they're the same ability. So, like the way I'm doing punditry, like it's just I'm knowledgeable about the game because I watch game religiously. But I just try to bring a little bit of smile and a little bit of a character. It might not last forever, you know what I mean? You can't be laughing and joking but at the start, you need to bring. I feel you need to bring a little bit different. So yeah, when I go into the studio with them guys, I just love it. I just love it. I really do.
As you said, Micah, football is the entertainment business as well. Like this is a next generation, and I think you're the face of that. It's not, all about facts and stuff. You need to be able to vibe and interact and stir up a debate, which is what you do. Is there people that you look at and think, wow, this is the bar? Or you're sort of thinking, you know what, I'm creating my own lane?
I think there's so many good pundits out there. So I think Gary Neville is top notch. I think the relationship between him and Carragher is just sensational. People could watch that all day. Then, like Ian Wright is just next level, and he's Ian Wright. You know what I mean? So when he's talking, you listen. You know what I mean? He's just one of them people. You know who's a really good pundit? Jermaine, because he's not won as much as others. He doesn't get the recognition he deserves, but he actually watch him analysing football and stuff. Danny Murphy the same. But in terms of pundits, like I don't want to be like any of them. I want to be as knowledgeable in terms of being able to break down game because that's experience that comes with time and different things and different tools. I've been doing it for years, but I want to be doing my own thing. You know what I mean? I can't replicate what they're like. Ian Wright, I can never replicate because he's a legend of the game. He's you know what I mean? He's a striker. Everyone knows Ian Wright. Like, no disrespect to me at times, unless you're a football fan, like you might even not know who I was 18 months ago. You know what I mean? So I feel like I've got to bring something different to then be able to get to them levels that the top pundits out there at this moment in time. But who I look up to all of them, but what I do is try to take a little bit from everything and make my own. You know what I mean? I don't see or I want to be that because like I always have that originality. That
authenticity.
Authenticity, exactly. And like I really believe if I work hard at it, then hopefully I've got a long time in this industry because I love football, man. I do.
You know what, Mike? I wanted to ask, outside of the Sky Sports studio, have you done any kind of like media training or anything like outside of the public view to build yourself up and help like hone your skills so that you're primed and ready for this role, right? And the reason why I ask is because whenever I listen to pundits on Monday Night Football or analysing a game, right? No one ever says or no one ever seems like they don't know what they're saying. It's like it's just continuous. Like no one has a hiccup or no one. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to understand. Like, is that through media training or like have you got to work at that? Have you got to practice that? Like what have you done?
So I didn't have no media training, but they prefer you to be like that to start with. You know what I mean? They want you to go out there and see what you can do, and then they'll give you like little tweaks. So I had one training session with a guy. It was more about like how to sit up, that sort of thing. Different audiences. So like when you're on BBC, it might not just be football fans. It might be an older lady or a younger kid, you know what I mean? Because everyone's got BBC. So certain words you're better off using on that. But then Sky, it's all like football fans. So you can be called people by nicknames and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then you have like maybe 1 or 2 just reviews every season to see what you can improve. And you can have more if you want to. But no, I don't really. I just prefer when it's like you guys now. You guys know what you're talking about, so you don't start. You could talk about football all day, couldn't you? So you're not going to be stuttering. You're not going to be stuttering, are you?
Yeah.
It's only when the camera's on that's when people get nervous. That's when you start. Oh, what shall I do here? But when you love football and football's all your life, look. We could have so many different opinions about different things, but it's our opinion, you know what I mean? And no one can take that away from us. And I think what I like about what you guys doing and all these other people who are doing podcasts, it's like, well, you guys have actually got an opinion, but 10 years ago, you would never have an opinion, you know what I mean? And that's the way it's changing, you know what I mean? And that's why I look at when you say, can I come on a podcast? I'm like, of course I can come on a podcast, you know what I mean?
Come on.
I would love to, because it's like, you guys are the new generation that like are changing. Look at Arsenal Fan TV. Unbelievable what they have done. Incredible what they have done, you know what I mean? Like Robbie and what he's, you know, channeled that and where he's gone from where he was. You know, that's what you guys want to be in 5-10 years, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just think if you love something enough, then yeah, you can have little tweaks and stuff like that, but you already know what you're talking about, you know what I mean? So I don't think there's going to be too many. The only time you hear someone saying is when, like, you know the line or you know the thinking about. You can tell. If you look in the eyes, you can just tell straight away. But it's football. We all love football, so we all got something to say, you know what I mean?
No, definitely, Micah. Obviously, you're ex-Premier League winner. I'm just going to say that because you keep telling us on Sky. Why is it that, like, in a dressing room, there's footballers that like the media, and then there's footballers that never actually want to talk to the media and want nothing to do with the media? Why do you get 2 opposite, like, types of people in a dressing room?
It's just, like, different personalities. Like, we had, like, David Silva, who was, like, proper chilled. He didn't really like the media. Sergio Aguero used to hate the media. And they're not coming from, don't forget, they're speaking a different language as well. So to come out and do interviews in English would be hard as well. And the reason why some people are playing the game with the media, like trying to keep the media on side. But, you know, like if media have written a column about you and are slagging you off, but not like what people don't understand. If you've had a bad game and the media want to say, you know, as footballers, we accept that. We you know, ex-professional, whatever, we accept that. But when they start going personal, talking about into your personal life and digging up things that are totally not football related, then why would you want to go do like interviews with the media? You don't want to. You want to keep it, because sometimes the media can give them too much. You know what I mean? So I think, like in the dressing room, especially at Villa, because we was doing so bad at the time, like everyone just like don't want to do no media, like they're absolutely killing us in the press, and at times it was fully deserved. But it's like anything, you've got characters in the dressing room. Some people love the camera, and some people are camera shy. But I just think it's hard for players to like some media, not all, because some's good, but some of the media, because they're always writing like it's not facts, it's non-factual, you know what I mean? If they'd write more facts, then I think they would get a little bit more love.
Yeah, Michael, as Dot said, you've won the Premier League, you know, won the FA Cup, you've won the accolades, man. You got to big yourself up.
17, you know?
You know, scoring the header, you know, you've done a lot of great things in football. But I want to hone in to your time at Manchester City. Obviously, you came on. Manchester City were probably a mid-table club, but you were part of that transition period from, you know, mid-table winners to like, you know, Premier League title winners. So how is that change in dynamic? What shift in mentality did you see? And when did you know what, we can potentially be winners?
Yeah, it was difficult because I come through the youth at 14. So like, if I never expected to like winning the FA Cup for me was just all I wished to achieve in my career, because I missed out on the FA Youth Cup. So then 14, I was there. I was playing for the first team at 17. And when we had the takeover, but we had 2 takeovers. We had Shinawatra before.
Oh, yeah.
So we all thought like this was it. We're going to be the next thing. But then it didn't materialize. So then when Sheikh Mansour came, we're like, oh, is this going to be another one? You know what I mean? Because I love City. I've been there for young. I'm like, come on, please. So then when they and you realise how much money they've got, but not just how much money, what they wanted to do with the club, I was like, there's no chance I'm leaving here. There's no, honestly, it was the plans and, you know, win a Premier League. The only thing in the plans that they've not done is win a Champions League. So I was playing for England at 18, and it was, if I would have been at City now, I would have had, I don't know, we talk about my career, but I'm a worst critic. I would have had a way better, because I won't say I had too much too soon, but I just, like, because I was one of the best players in the team, I didn't stop working hard, but that little bit of hunger to get me to where I was, it wasn't there anymore, because I was one of the best players in the team. You know what I mean? So then
vice captain as well.
Yeah, and my standards started to drop a little bit. But then we started getting good players coming in. When Robinho was the first one, Robinho was the one who changed everyone. We got him from Real Madrid. He used to do some madness in training. Him and Daniel Sturridge. Yeah. Not gonna lie. I'm just like, him and Sturridge on the same team. It wasn't even fair. It was just, honestly, it was madness. Yeah. So then he was the first one to put like Man City. Well, it was serious now. The players started coming. Then the next minute he's saying like the David Silva starting coming. Then Tevez is starting coming. And just like
that Tevez.
That's what I mean. So like, one minute you're like a top 10, well, even not probably top 15 if I'm being realistic, because one of the years we were struggling for relegation at one point, and then to turn that around to be champions. And I've seen all that growth and the planning in behind the scenes and all that. It was just like, it was totally crazy. It was like, to win the Premier League was just something I never think I would do, especially at Manchester City. Like, because don't forget, when I was younger, I was rumoured with Chelsea and Man U and even Liverpool when I was younger. But I never wanted to leave Man City, just because I knew I was always going to have an opportunity there to play, especially so young. So then when these players started coming in, I started sweating, you know. I started saying, yo, are they going to replace me? Are they going to replace me in the team? I was like, please, no. But luckily, I managed to hold down my place. It's only when then like I got injured and then Zabaleta coming and he just did absolute madness.
He was dominating the game for a few years, man.
Yeah. He was dominating the game. But yeah, to see that transition from where he was to where Man City are now is just, honestly, inspirational stuff. And it's not just like people say, "Oh, Man City, you only got this money, this, that, and the other," but the infrastructure that is done around the ground, the amount of jobs he's created, opportunities, like, it's just been amazing. And so to be a part of that from the start, and then to finish with a Premier League, I couldn't ask for any more. And that's why I'm always happy, man. Got that Premier League.
Do you know what, Micah? Yeah, I want to ask you a question about the infrastructure.
Yeah,
and specifically about Khaldoon Al Mubarak, right? So this guy, whenever I hear him talk, I'm literally blown away. In my mind, I'm like, this guy can sell sand to a beach because of how like his gravitas, like the way that he speaks, right? And so take us back to that conversation that you had with him, like back in, I think it was 2008, when they were talking about the 10-year plan, right? You bought into it, obviously, but what was so convincing about it? Why was he so sure that the team were going to win trophies, that there were going to be big sponsorships and deals and whatnot? Like, what was it about that 10-year plan for you? You know when you hear people speak and they're just like, you just left blown away. You know what I mean? He, like you said, he just like so authoritative.
he knew exactly but he wasn't setting unrealistic goals, if you know what I mean. He was saying like, well, this year, you know, if we get into like top 8, then top 6, we get the right investment, see where we need to be. Then we go, you know, Champions League, you know, and then once it was Champions League, he was like, we're actually, like, we've come forward a little bit, you know what I mean? We've surpassed where we're supposed to go. And then he was just, you know what he did? He just gave you that belief that he could do it. He used to say to me all the time, like who's better than you in the league? And I used to say, well, he's got, no. Who's better than the league? You know, he just give you that confidence.
That mindset.
The mindset, but he'd back it up by, he said, well, I've got these stats that to say, well, you're playing the best in the league at the moment. So what are you worried about? You know what I mean? But then like finding the right manager to deal with a lot of egos. Don't forget, money in football is big. You know what I mean? So imagine money and then these players who want to play every week, and you've got 25-man squad where you've got to try keep everyone happy. And getting Mancini was a masterstroke because he didn't take nothing from nobody from day one. So when he employed him, it was like, okay, we mean business now. Like, this is like, you've had your little fun, but this is what we need to do going forward. And he didn't put you know what he did? He didn't put any pressure. He just more give you the mindset and the belief to, well, this is what we want to invest. These are the players who we need. And this is the manager who's going to put it together. We already had a good stadium. The stadium, 50,000 people. We already had the fan base. Like, Man City's like fans in Manchester. Like, you get the fans now a little bit disheartened because of the prices of some of the tickets, because it's not like, it's amazing. But like, go to the old main road. It was, when they was in Division 1, they was filling that out in Division 1. Do you know what I mean? So they've always had the fan base, like Sleeping Giant. But it was him behind the scenes, like putting everything together. You know what I mean? These things don't happen overnight. Like people talk about foundations, but like he would religiously work on the plan on where it would need to be. And the only thing in that, he actually said at the time, it might be a little bit longer for the Championship, but he said the League Cup, the FA Cup, and the Premier League, and he did that. And the only one that's missing is that Champions League. But Champions League is so hard.
You think Pep's gonna do it? It's the holy grail for Manchester City. Like, personally, I'm a Liverpool fan. I don't think Pep does it.
That is agenda.
You know what? It's hard. I still think Bayern on their day are good, like top notch. I think Liverpool on their day are still top notch. I think PSG, like they just need something to click for them to win it. Like they got to the final, like they just need all the players to be fit at the right time, and then Dev can do it. And then I think City's like maybe just behind that bracket, but I still think at the moment to win it, there's them 3 teams above City at the moment. But in the Champions League, anything can happen. You know what I mean? You get the right draw, a big team goes out, and then you never know. Anyone could beat anyone. You know what I mean? And now it's difficult. It's different now with COVID and whatnot. You've not got the fans, have you? So it's a little bit different as well. Like going to the Bernabeu or the Camp Nou. It's difficult. You know what I mean? but there's no fans now. It's a little easier. It's a little easier.
So obviously, Micah, look, we need to keep it real on this podcast, innit?
Yeah, keep it real. Keep it funky.
Is there such a thing as a young player of getting too much too soon? Because I'll give you an example. If I'm a young player and I'm making, thousands of pounds a week, I'm going to be getting this sick car. Keeping it real, I'm going to be getting this sick watch. The drip, it has to be clean. You get what I'm trying to say? So How hard is it as a young player to stay focused on football?
Ooh, good question, man. Like it's too hard. It's too. I would say I had too much too young, you know, because I come through. I was playing, got a good contract. Then my levels just dropped. I already thought like, and I don't know if it was subconscious. I wasn't. You don't go into training and think, oh my, I'm gonna play bad today. But you know all the things that like you were doing beforehand to get to that place, you feel like you don't need to do them no more. You know, even just like extra stuff at training, or you know, asking a question. You know, like you can never be too experienced to learn. You know what I mean? Even if you're vice captain at 18, 19, like you still got so much to learn. You know what I mean? And I think that's what happens when you get the big contract. I don't necessarily think it's the money. It's just like, because you've got a big contract, subconsciously you think, oh, I've made it now. You know what I mean? So I don't need to work as hard. But actually, in fact, you need to work harder. And I had Aston Martin when I was 18. I had a Range Rover. I changed it for an R8. I got a Ferrari. So I was living my best life. I was buying into the hype. You know, like we talk about the negative, the negative. I was buying into the positive. When I was getting 8 out of 10, I look at the paper. Richard, outstanding again. So you know what you do. You know, you're 18, 19, 20. You know, big 8 out of 10. You know, you got it there. You just, and you know, it's like it's different for us because like, you're not bringing it back to the race. But when you're a black person, more time you've come from, you know, a bad area. More time. You just keep it real. So you know when we was growing up, when he was watching MTV Bass and them things, the first thing you see in music videos and that is man in the car. So when you earn a little bit of money and whatnot, you want to be driving nice cars and stuff like that. But I don't think that affected, like, I you know, in terms of too much too young. I just feel like then people can start stereotyping you, you know what I mean? And you're giving people a reason to talk bad about you. And that's where the problem lies. Because buying nice cars, there's not a problem with buying nice cars. If you can afford it, do it, you know what I mean? But it's the way you perceive then, you know what I mean? And then if you don't have a good game, oh, is that a good game? But I see him outside in his drop top Aston Martin, you know what I mean? Who does he think he is? And then you get a perception. Like, bare times people have said to me, oh, I thought he was an idiot, you know? I'm like, what do you mean? You just like that perception of you. I thought he was blingy, flashy. I thought he was arrogant. But
and we saw that in the interview. When you're speaking to Andy Cole, he used to tell you know what, Micah, listen, slow down a bit. You need to, because you know when you're black, you get those stereotypes. Yeah,
that's what I mean. So it's like, and then I've tried to, and that's what I've tried to do, like turn it into positive, into media. Like now, it's like, well, I'm not like that. I'm just like you guys. You know what I mean? Like I just enjoy life, want to work hard. And I want to help people, you know what I mean? And I'm in a position now where I can help people because of the platforms I'm so why not? But I've got to keep it real as well. So I can't go on Sky or BBC, oh, he's arrogant or he's big time and all that, because I've been through all that, you know what I mean? I've done the partying, I've done all that, the madness, you know what I mean? I'm looking at that. Purple bottles in a lane was getting, you know, listen. It's just like you've got to enjoy it as well. I think it's just about getting that balance right is what I would, and I can go deep into it because I've been, you know, from all the negatives, but I'm a positive person. I like to uplift people, you know what I mean?